Hello everyone and welcome back to the Spanish Sling, a podcast where we try to bridge the gap between the Spanish and Singaporean companies and encourage economic relations between them. In the past interviews we talk about the different sectors in Singapore, but what if you want to negotiate with a Singaporean? This is why we bring today Bruno Navarro,
Hello.
founder and managing director of SmartCity Projects.
Yes.
Which is specialized in green building construction and smart infrastructure.
Yes.
So, Bruno, you have a lot of experience here in Singapore, and I'm sure you can give us an overview and a better understanding of the negotiation process here in Singapore. So, what are the main characteristics, you will say, of the negotiation process here in Singapore?
Okay, well, based on my experience, in one hand, it's very network connected. So personal relationships, although between companies is kept quite formal, but the more trust, more build, branding, personal brand that you bring to the table, the better results you are going to get. I think this is a culture that is very win-win oriented. So in this sense, they will understand that you have to win, right? And I think in that sense, they will not try to squeeze you as much as they can. But on the other hand, they will also feel they win. So, and they have a lot of power here because this is a small country, powerful economy, but very small size. It has the size of Menorca, yeah, but with 5.5 million people. So all the distributors, all the suppliers, they have a lot of power. Furthermore, I think they will request a lot of certificates. It depends on the industry, but lab results, engineering drawings, and it might come as too much for us, or even petty, or even unnecessary. But you need to understand that you will have to provide 100% of what they give. There is no questions. I mean, there is no negotiation margin there. However, they will be happy to help you as much as they can for you to get these documents and these certificates if they are really interested.
Exactly. So, Bruno, I guess that it's a kind ecosystem, a kind atmosphere where they want you to win as well, and they want to win themselves as well, and they will help you in the process. And that it is really important to base that relationship on trust. And in results, I guess. So, in which way the Asian business culture that we may have heard about in Spain influences the negotiation process?
Well, I think they have a quite collectivist approach, and I think we are more individualistic in our sense. But one of the things that I have felt in my experience is especially at the beginning, when you will do a presentation or sit for a negotiation, the person that you will have in front generally will have no power. They are, that's a negotiation tool in the sense that that person is there to try to push you, try to get better deal for you to accept the conditions, while they will be like, oh, I don't really have any power of decision here, I will have to consult this. So it will be in later stages where you can get to talk with the decision maker. And despite it's not really my preferred method, but drinks after work, especially for sectors like brokerage, like shipping, and or even after having a meeting and meeting the companies, going for drinks, that's something that happens and it can give results.
Yes, really interesting ideas to think about. And does Bruno, being in different sectors, I mean, there are companies who will be focused on specific sectors, so does it really vary among sectors, the negotiation process?
I think especially the negotiation power. Like, for example, with F&B, that is so already saturated, and there is a limited amount of places where you can sell. They have all the power. unless you come already prepared to give them a lot of commitment, spend your time, spend your money, not expect making much money at all, and all that, you will get nowhere. But there is like, for example, new technologies and that the country really needs, that it is in their goal with their master plan, or with all the goals that they have. Yeah, they are open to get it. Price is very important, and branding is so important. Yeah, I think like especially for Spanish companies, in my experience, they don't care so much about like building a brand in the country, and that's the main barrier, one of the main barriers.
Yes. So something to really take into account, and to know that maybe the traditional sectors that are overcrowded with companies, that may be really difficult to have the power in that negotiation, but the newer sectors, the ever-changing and more dynamic ones associated with technology, that's where maybe it is more flexible and in a way. And
indeed.
In comparison with Spain, so any Spanish listener can understand, what are the main differences between the Spanish business culture and the Asian business culture, and the way of negotiating that you have perceived in your experience in Singapore?
I didn't extend myself more in the previous question because I knew this was coming. So, I think this is my personal opinion, right? Like, I believe that we Spaniards, we don't really like so much to be sold with like a lot of fancy words and stuff. It's more like, look, this is the product, you try, you have your own criteria, you decide it's good, you buy.
Exactly.
If I come to you like, oh, this is the best and something, you might be a little bit like, okay, taken back.
Yes.
But here is very important to create a brand, to build the trust, to be known, to be to follow up, right? So I think a lot of companies, Spanish companies, they come here, they are like, oh yeah, I do meetings, you just buy from me and you take care. And those companies will not sell, and if they sell, they will get one purchase order and never again. Because you really have to commit to this market. This is a very small, mature, saturated market. So you will have to work, you will have to get yourself involved with the local companies, with your distributor, with everybody, and that's a very strong commitment that you will have to do. Another thing is like flexibility. As I said before, they will have zero flexibility with like the documents that you have to supply. Maybe even there is a document that is not necessary truly because your product doesn't have some components that by default they think it will have. You will still have to prepare a report, probably signed by a third party, convincing them that the other document is not necessary. And I think this is very difficult to Spanish companies to really get inside. I will just give you an example in my experience. Working with, I introduced the first automatic parking for bicycles in Singapore. And one of the submissions they require is drawings of all the details, like engineering drawings. And later they have to get stamped and by a local, they call it professional engineer. So, and this is a very laborious work, a very hard work, and it doesn't really have any purpose that maybe a Spaniard can understand, right? So our supplier thought that he knew better, so he spent quite a lot of money on hiring an external engineering company and made like a marvelous report, 100 over pages of all the forces that apply to the machine, how it interacts, how the machine of course is prepared to withstand everything, with no, like, with ease. And when we gave to the authorities here, all the engineers, they were like, wow, this is amazing, showing to each other, wow, this is great, okay, this is useless, you still have to provide the basic drawings. You gave us this affected nothing, thank you, we learned something today, but it was useless, right? So I think that represents a little bit the contrast. And okay, there is one last thing I want to give here, because I think it is important, and that's something that I have learned with my experience and I use. Which I think here within the company and the way they deal is quite formal, and it's kind of like, oh, we're doing business, we're working, this is strictly professional. But we Spaniards, we end up being warmer and building some kind of friendship eventually with your supplier, with your clients, with your partner, you know, which I think in Spain it can have some negative side where it's like, oh yeah, today I didn't have it on time, I'll give it tomorrow, right? Which here it comes as strongly unprofessional. But if you show them that you're professional, that you give, that you reply fast, here they were very fast. Here like 2 weeks to supply, holiday time was that, you know, like no holiday, no anything. But if eventually when you are dealing with this, with all the people that you deal with, the fact that eventually you are going, because as a Spaniard you will not be able to avoid some kind of personal rapport and some kind of a personal relationship, later it will come and help you, especially when you're negotiating, when they have to go the extra mile, because you can find in the situation that actually they have more fun working with you, they like you more than they like themselves between each other, because the type of relationship they have and the type of work. So of course, if somebody is happier working with you, they are going to give more time and they are going to go an extra mile. And I have gotten 100% better results because of that in my projects here. So that's something that is strong. You have to be careful, because if you come as very friendly at the beginning and you are not providing what they want on the spot, it will come as unprofessional.
Exactly.
But when they see like, oh wow, these people are serious of what they do and they are still kind of fun, that will open you doors.
Yeah, well, Bruno, thank you so much. I'm sure everyone's taking notes, everyone interested, because you give such great ideas. But to conclude this part of the interview, what advice would you give them? You have to give a lot of information, like stick to the things and comply to what they want, build trust, be efficient. But what final advice would you give maybe a Spanish company who wants to start negotiations in Singapore, has listened to all your advice, maybe some word of encouragement for them?
Yeah, well, first of all, understand why you are getting in Singapore. Singapore is not, oh, I like Singapore, it sounds fine. You need to have a goal, you need to understand the size of the market, get a proper market research of what is going on here.
Be realistic.
Yeah, be realistic. What's the volume that you can get? Be ready to commit yourself. If you expect just to do a visit and get sales, forget about it. Spend your money somewhere else. And if you really want to get into Singapore, work on your brand, commit, invest in marketing, invest in building the relationships with your local partners, and you will succeed.
Yes, I think if we had to sum up your ideas in just one line, it will be build a strong brand and commit to it. Thank you so much, Bruno, for all your advice. I'm sure everyone will be really glad, for your perspective and your insights. Thank you so much, Bruno.
Welcome.
Thank you.